Hey guys and girls, it's Chris here again. Um, so in today's lesson, we're going to look at some basic music theory. Okay, now I'm not gonna, don't want to bore you with this. I don't want to. It's don't want to put you off anything. But it's really important things. Okay, and it's things that it's really going to help you when you're playing in your bands because it's going to help you with timing. Okay, and reading music as well. Again, no matter which instrument or which route you take, whether it's the guitar or piano, I know guitar we use these things called tabs where we use numbers. As some of you will know when we're in the classes, and we'll do some more videos based on that. But if you play piano, for instance, you'll see all the notes on the stave, what we call the stave. Okay, so these notes are going to tell us not only what type of note we need to be playing, so whether it be like a G or a E or a A or a C, for instance, but it also tells us how long that note should last. Okay, so we're going to keep this really simple, and we're just going to look at four key types of notes. Okay, well, first things first. Now I'll put stuff on the screen as well as I talk, but we have what's called the music stave. Okay, now with this stave, the stave is what the notes are going to sit on. Okay, it's like a grid, and you'll see a picture of it on the screen. So on this stave, we have got in for this lesson at least anyway, there is we have got what we'll call a treble clef. Okay, and that is this squiggly thing as you can see on the picture below. Okay, just see it at the end of the stave. There's a squiggly. Yeah, that's me drawing one in thin air. Okay, that's called the treble clef. Okay, so on this stave, we've got our treble clef. Now we've got our timing signature as well. See we're there, where it says 4 and then 4. Yeah, that's our time signature. Okay, and that for now is telling us that there's 4 beats in each bar. Okay, so how do we figure out which note is which letter? Yeah, because you hear us always banging on about on the guitar, this is a G, this is an A, and so on, or on the piano, we might have to write them on for you, yeah, as you get started. How do we read that? Okay, well, on our stave, on this grid, there's either a note that'll sit on the line, or it'll sit in the gaps between the lines, okay? Now there's some special words, just like when we learn the strings of the guitar and we have elephants and donkeys grow big ears, so we can figure out what the names of the strings are. We have a couple of sentences that are going to help us figure out what the gaps or the lines mean on the stave, okay? So let's start with the lines. So if a note is ever sat on one of the lines on the stave, we use this sentence. Every. So on the first line, it'd be E for every. Then the line above it, good, G for good. Then the line above that, boy, B for boy. Then the line above that, deserves, so D for deserves. And then the line above that, football. Okay, or food, or you can make your own one of these up. Okay, this is just how I was taught when I was younger. Okay, so we've got every good boy deserves football. Okay, so what that means is, let's say there's a note that's sat on our music stave and it's sat on the line, the first line that you see. Yeah, that would make that note an E. Okay, if there's a treble clef, because that note is sat on the line that is E for every. Okay? If the note was sat on the line above, it would be a G, because that note is G for good, every good. Okay? If it was sat on the line above that, it would be B, because that is B for boy. If the note sat on the line above that, it would be D, deserves, and then if it was sat on the line above that, it would be F for football. Okay? So what? That's only if the notes are sat on the line, okay? So if the notes are sat in between the lines, so in the gaps that are between the lines, then that note we'd use a different sentence, okay? And for that we're going to use a phrase called face, okay? F-A-C-E. Now if you look, there's four gaps. 1, 2, 3, 4. The first one is F. The second gap is A. The third gap is C. And the last gap there is E, okay? So that then tells us if one of the notes is sat in the gap, it's going to be, if it's in the first gap, it will be an F. If the note's sat in the second gap, it will be an A. If it's sat in the third gap, what would it be? F, A, C, because we're spelling out phase. And if it's sat in the fourth gap, it will be A, E, okay? So between every good boy deserves football and face, F-A-C-E, we can work out what any note is on the music stave, okay? Because it's sat on one of them, either on the lines or in the gaps. So we just work it out like a maths question, okay? We can just work it out and we can just take our time with it. And we will, I'll put some little examples at the end of the video so you can press pause and try to work them out for yourself, okay? That'd be really cool. So we'll come back to that and we'll do that, and you can keep re-watching this and trying that, okay? So as well as having the notes on the stave, so whether working out what them notes are, we have types of notes, okay? And these types of notes tell us how long we should hold that note for. And we're just going to look at 4 types, okay? So the first one is called a semibreathe, okay? And it looks like this. Can you see that? Like a donut, okay? Like Homer Simpson's donut, okay? And a semibreathe is worth 4 beats, okay? So if there's ever one of these in our bars of music, chances are, if our time signature is set as 4/4, there's only ever going to be that in that bar, because there's only 4 beats in the bar, and this semibreathe is worth 4 beats, okay? So if I was to clap a semibreathe, I'm going to put a click track on, and I'm going to clap it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Semibreathe. 2, 3, 4. Semibreathe. 2, 3, 4. Semibreathe. 2, 3, 4. Semibreathe. 2, 3, 4. So it lasts for 4 beats. So once you play that note, you count 2, 3, 4 after it before you then play the next part of the song. Okay? So semibreathe, the key point to take from this is a semibreathe is worth 4 beats. Okay? So now from that, we have what we would call a minim. Okay? And that looks like this. And a minim is also known as a half note. Sorry, so a semibreathe is also known as a full note. Okay? Because it's worth 4 beats. It's like a whole. Okay? Full note. So the minim, that looks like this, that's known also as a half note, and that is worth 2 beats, okay? So there's the clue. If it's known as a half note and a semibreathe is a whole note, which is 4, what's half of 4? 2, okay? So a minim is worth 2 beats, okay? And that sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Minim, 2. Minim, 2. Notice there's a beat after every time. Okay? So every time I play a beat, there's then a click before I play the next one. Okay? So it's worth 2 beats. Okay? So to put that into context, for instance, here's a semibreathe. 2, 3, 4. And a minim. 2. And a minim. 2. And a semibreathe. 2, 3, 4. And a minim. 2. And a minim. Yeah, so I was playing different chords there, but the notes were semibreathe. I held the first chord for 4, then I played a minim for 2 and a minim for 2. Okay, so I held them both for 2, and then went back to my semibreathe for 4. Okay, so we've got a whole note, which is a semibreathe worth 4 beats. We've got a minim, also known as a half note, which is worth 2 beats. We have a crotchet. If anyone remembers hearing us talk about crotchets all the time, you've probably heard us bang on about them a few times. So a crotchet, also known as a quarter note, is worth 1 beat, okay? So a crotchet is worth 1 beat. So if we have 4 beats in our bar, we could have 4 crotchets in there, okay? So a crotchet, it's just worth 1 beat. So as soon as you've played that crotchet, you're straight onto your next note. So if I put my click track on, I'm going to play 4 crotchets. There's no gaps in between. If you listen, there's just 4 beats. So it's just a continuous crotchet, 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 crotchet. Okay? So each one's just worth 1 beat. Crotchet, 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 crotchet. Yeah? So the crotchet, the quarter note, is worth 1 beat. And then the last note we're going to look at is a quaver. Okay? Now, don't get this mixed up with a cheesy packet of crisp. You can't eat these quavers. Okay? Now a quaver, that is worth half a beat. Okay? So whereas the crotchet is worth 1 beat, the quaver is worth half. Okay? So a quaver, the best way I would describe this when I'm teaching, I call them quickity quavers, okay? So because they're only worth half a beat, they kind of skip and they played a little bit faster. So if you look at the picture now of a quaver, it's got like a ponytail just dangling off it, okay? Now when you have 2 quavers stuck together, that ponytail attaches them together. And have a look now, there's 2 quavers together, okay? So if I was to play these 2 quavers in time, quaver, 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 quaver. Okay, so there's more of a, instead of 2 crotchets would be like, okay, whereas a quaver would be 2 quavers. Okay, it's like skippity, quickity quavers. Okay, so we've got our semi-breathe, 2, 3, 4, semi-breathe, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we've got our minim, minim, 2, 3, 4, minim. We've got our crotchet, and we've got our quaver, 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 quaver. So I'm not going to bog you down too much with all of these, but they're the 4. And if you take one thing from these, is for one, if you just remember the names of them, okay? Just remember what their values are. So a semi-breathe is worth 4, a minim is worth 2, a crotchet is worth 1, and a quaver is worth half. Okay, half, so 0.5. Okay. So if you can remember that, honestly, it's going to help you out so much when we begin doing our band sessions and we're talking about our rhythm and our timing, okay? So great lesson there. I'm going to put some things on at the end of the lesson, some questions for you about timing, okay? And I'm just going to leave them on the screen, and I want you to pause the screen and you can scribble down your answers to do with the questions, okay? And you can rewatch this video as many times as you want. Keep rewinding it to try and find out the answers, okay? Awesome. Well done. Great work. See you all later. Bye.